I'll be showing you how to upgrade or install a new radio in a 2010 Ford Focus. This is the SE model. It does not have the sync or an amplified system, so it's a very basic radio. So I'll show you how to remove this. You have to remove the entire dash trim piece here, that includes the climate controls, and then you'll be swapping over to the new dash kit with your new radio. I'll be installing a double DIN, so it'll be a nice upgrade from this one. First thing you're gonna do is you need, well, the tools you'll need. So a ratchet, panel removing tool, or if you don't have this, you can use a flathead screwdriver, and a nut driver. So it'll be a 7mm socket that you need. And you're going to be first removing at your steering wheel column here. You're going to have two 7mm screws you need to remove first. So let's do that. To remove those two screws, what you're going to do is on this part of the dash, you'll need to pop up. So using your panel removing tool with a flathead screwdriver, you're going to go to the bottom here. You're going to pry up and forward, like so, just like that. And all you want to do is just get enough of the panel up and forward for you to access, or because this dash has a lip on it and this will prevent it from moving out. So all you got to do is just enough like that. So when you're removing this, it's not going to hold it back. Same thing on the airbag cover. Do the exact same thing. Panel removing tool or your flathead screwdriver. That, and up top, and same thing. You want just enough, and that should work. So you can see there, it's not fully off, but it's detached enough that will allow us to get into to remove the dash here. Other thing you're gonna do is the two vents up top. We need to remove those. So same thing, panel removing tool. You should drop the bottom. You can pop those out. Go around the corner nice and easy, and just like that. You slide your vents right out, so you can set those off to the side anywhere really. Then there's going to be two 7mm screws here. Should be one here and one here, so you'll need to access those. Alright, so now to remove this metal console here, put your e-brake up. You know how this little sleeve over your e-brake, you want to grab that. If you want to remove the entire piece, what you're going to do is just slide this up and forward. Easier said than done. Essentially what you want to do is slide this up like that, so when you remove this piece you can actually remove it without having to remove the handle itself. So first thing you want to do is on the back end here of your console, between the black piece and the silver piece, you want to put in your panel removing tool and just pop that up like that. You should about like that. And just keep grabbing towards the middle and popping each piece, and that will loosen it up, and then you should be able to, again, with this, grab and slide. So the other thing I'll mention is what you want to do is your shifter. You want to turn the key over, put into drive or low with your e-brake on, of course, and that'll give you the room that you need to remove this. Because right now, if I try to do this, you can see it's gonna hit here. It's not allow me to do it. However, if you just maneuver enough of it, you might be able to gain access to the screws, which I'm trying to see if I can get access to without removing this whole thing. So let me try that and see if that works. And then the screws are going to be, when you're lifting this up, going to be just to the left and to the right of this black piece here. Okay, so what I've gone and done is remove the entire piece because I was finding it really hard to get to those screws with that piece on. So what I did was, with your e-brake up, and it's going to be a little bit tricky to do it afterwards as well, is again moving the your cover here. And what I did was, once it's in place here, gonna just bend it enough like this, right? Just be careful, you're not gonna put too much pressure on it. And then I was able to bend it enough, slide it forward and over this, and it'll help to get it off. So that's the biggest challenge, is this piece here. So again, I got mine off, so now it'll be a lot easier to get into the screws, because they're kind of way back here, to remove those. So I'll remove those and we'll continue on. Alright, so now we got the 2 screws from the bottom. Now we should be able to remove the entire dash piece here. So make sure that's loose. And all we gotta do is we should be able to grab the sides or the bottom top here and just gently pull forward. Don't overdo anything. Just get a good tug and it should start to come out like that. There, that's what you mean. You don't want to get caught in there. So I'm gonna wiggle this out of the way to get access to it. There. As you can see, if we don't remove those, it'll get caught. So now I'm gonna just slide the radio out and forward. Right, so there I've done most of my connections, or disconnected them anyways. It's a little bit hard to do it, mainly because I put it back in park, so it doesn't allow me to move this forward much more, but also because of the connections here. So what you want to do is go and start disconnecting anything at the bottom there, and then just try to remember where everything goes. But everything just connects to one single spot, so you don't have to worry too much about the same connector in 2 different plugs. So disconnect those. The harder ones are going to be the ones at the bottom here, which are for the 12 volt cigarette lighters. The little tabs for them, try to show you, little tabs for them here, you have to squeeze real nice and hard at the bottom there for the tab to come off. Those were the little bit hard ones. For the one here for the rotary for the fan, which is this one here, what you have to do is this tab at the bottom. So I've pushed my flathead screwdriver to separate it from the clip, and then just pushed it back, and that one worked pretty easy. So now I'm done most of those. So now you should be able to grab and angle your radio forward enough like this to make all the to disconnect all the harnesses there, and then we should be able to remove the entire piece. Alright, so we're done removing the radio. Here's our 3 connectors for the main radio. So there's the larger plug, the smaller one, yellow one here connector is your satellite radio, and you have one extra little connector here which connects to the right side of the radio on a metal bracket. These 2 will slide in there, and this connected to the side. Alright, so now we got the radio out. We'll start by doing all the connections to the harnesses. So these are all the connections that I'll be using. You may not need all this depending on what you're installing. So first is the new radio harness, which you will need. The adapter harness here, and I will be doing steering controls, so I'll be using this module and small harness. So depending on what you're installing, if you're doing a basic install, you may not look this with this many wires. If you're not adding steering controls, you won't be using this. You will definitely be using the new radio harness. So we have to connect all this all together. So I'll be showing you step by step on how to do all this. So again, we'll move this to the side for now. And this is the one I'll be using for my install. The reason I got this one is because it gives you illumination. It's going to give you a reverse wire, so you're going to be using a camera. I may not do it right now, but I may later. And the biggest thing it's going to give you is a switched wire. So if you do the basic harness, it's not going to give you that. So that's the reason I went with this one. And of course, my new radio harness and the steering wheel controls. So I'll start prepping some of this. I'll show you what it looks like afterwards, and I'll show you how to do steering wheel controls if you'll be using those or not. Alright, so here is the connections I made so far for the steering wheel controls from the ASWC-1 harness, which I'll be using green white, which will be going to pin 18 of the radio main harness here. and then black, of course, because we need ground to that module, is going to the main black on the radio harness. And then so those are the two that I needed there, plus pin 18, which is going to be ground, or sorry, pin 19, which is going to be ground for the steering wheel controls. So I have the ground from the steering wheel controls from the main harness, ground from the ASWC-1 to the main harness. So I have these ones all connected here, so it's one single one, and then this main one will be going to the new radio harness, so it'll be easier to connect that way. Now, depending on the radio that you have, the ASWC-1 includes this other connector. If you have a radio like a Alpine, a lot of the Alpines have the male input for steering wheel control, so all you have to do is connect this one straight to the back of the unit and you're done. I have a Kenwood, which is different, so I'll be using this extra harness. So I need to connect this like so, and then there's two wires to this little pigtail, a brown white and a brown. I'll be using I need to use the brown, and so this one needs to go to my Kenwood radio harness, the one that says steering wheel controls. So it says remote continued, which or on the other side of it says steering wheel. So that's what I'll be using. So this brown from this little adapter harness will be going to this wire here for the steering wheel controls. Alright, so I'm done most of my connections here. As you can see here, I have all the speaker wires done. I got my yellow 12 constant done, the ground done. I capped off the power antenna and amp turn on because I won't be using those. That's mostly done on the new radio harness here. The last few wires that I have left to do are the illumination that are going to go from this little connector. This connector is what goes to the module included with the adapter harness. It's all done now. I got all the wires connected, and I'm going to show you here what it looks like now. So there is the my steering wheel control module. So it's going to go kind of in line with the factory connectors. So I'm going to have these two sitting here. Then there's the steering wheel control wire that goes from the steering wheel control over to the new radio harness on my Kenwood. There's all the speaker wires, power, ground, illumination, everything here. So then I have to do a bit of a loop here to make sure that I was able to connect the 12 volt switched from the new radio over to the adapter harness. So that's all done. Illumination is there as well. So now that we've got the radio harness done, we're going to start prepping or transferring over things from the old dash kit over to the new one. So because I'll be doing a double DIN. For mine, I'll be cutting out this middle piece here. If you're doing a single DIN, you leave that there because then your radio goes here and your pocket goes here. Double DIN, you need to remove this. So I'll start removing that, and then we'll start transferring over the cigarette lighter panels here along with the auxiliary input. Then we'll do the buttons for the traction control and everything here, and lastly we'll move the climate controls. So to move some of them are fairly easy. Show you here. For the buttons here for the traction and everything else, they're just little tabs that will hold these in place. So squeeze them, push them through, and you're good to go. For the cigarette lighters and whatnot, there'll be 4 torque screws that hold those in place. And then for the climate controls, same idea, 4 on the outside. Move that and move it over. Alright, so now we got everything good here. I'm going to cut that middle piece. So what you need to do, the easiest thing to do is just to grab it and twist it, and it'll basically break off. And all you do is just trim with a little bit of excess on there, and you're good to go. So now this dash kit includes the 2 mounting brackets for the double DIN and the single DIN if you're doing a single DIN. So they're both labeled left and right. So right piece goes to that side. So it has this little lip on it on the one side here. And you just grab it and put that onto the edge of the dash here, and just slide it into place, and kind of holds it in there nice and snug like that. So now you got your 2 brackets there. Then what you're going to do is from the front to the back, you're going to slide in your new radio. So here's my double DIN. Let's get in the USB first, and then grab it like so, and just slide it back. Always make sure that the orientation is right. Take this away. So make sure you do that, and slide it back. And you should only slide back so far when the top of the or the outside of the radio hits the dash kit, so then it'll be able to sit where you want it. So now that it's there, what you're going to do is put in your mounting screws. Alright, so now we've got everything ready to go. We'll start putting things back. So first thing I'm going to do to make it easier is I'm going to connect the main harness to my connectors here. Antenna adapter, microphone, everything's ready to go. I got my microphone already done here, and what I'll be placing mine is already run it through here, through the side here of this dash side here, and it's easy to do. There's a big gap, so it's quite easy to do. Just run it through, put your hand here, and you got it here. And I'll be using double-sided tape. You can see the bottom here, it's red, so I'll be using that and placing it right here in this corner, facing me here, and I have enough slack to reach the back of the radio. Other thing I'll be doing is running the USB over to the glove box. So let me just pan over. My glove box is already down. So for your glove box, it's quite easy to do. There's two tabs here on the side on both ends. So what you got to do is push inwards and pull down, and then it comes down. It's quite easy. And then you have plenty of space to go in between here to run your USB and out that way. So that's what I'll be doing for my USB. Now we've got the radio all plugged in here. So what I did was I started at the bottom here. I just have it dummy mounted here. But when I started like this, and then I did the radio connections last. The reason being is I could tilt it back enough, so I was able to gain access to make all these connections here. So your cigarette lighter, your auxiliary, your climate controls and everything here. And then lastly I did my radio, mainly because I have the short chassis radio here. Typical double DIN will be maybe about here, so gives you less access to get your hands back there. But because of this one, it makes it really easy for me to access the connections. If you do have the regular double DIN with the long chassis, then you might want to connect your radio first and then work your way down, which will make it a little bit harder, I guess, but you can still be done. Otherwise, it's good to go. So now I'll plug in my battery, and this is my stereo control module here. I left access to that, as you can see there. So I want to make sure I get all the flashes, follow the instructions on the stereo controls. If you do one, it'll tell you what the flashes mean. So if there's an issue, again, you have access to it there instead of putting everything back together. So I got my negative back on my battery, so let's test it out. So let's turn the key over and it should turn on. There's the radio. You hear static. Steering wheel controls, as you can see, are working. So we know it's working. Again, we'll just test this out. It should be static, so we can hear the speakers. So we know everything's working. So now if I turn the key off, the radio is not going to shut off of this Ford. What you have to do is open your door and the radio goes off. So the way that's how these ones work, and that's why that module that I bought again gave you access to the 12-volt accessory connections here. So now it'll shut off like the normal radio would, and you're good to go. So that's how you install a double DIN radio in a 2010 Ford Focus SC. I'll post in the description down below the dash kit, the wiring kit that I used, and this is the Kenwood DMX706S, and I'll also put the ASWC-1 for steering wheel controls, which are working as needed. So that's good to have. Anyways, I'll also be doing putting into this one the wireless Android Auto module. So if you're interested in that module, I'll post that video link here, and you can watch that if you want to get yourself one. Otherwise, good to go. Thanks for watching. Any comments, questions, let me know.